back to Little Hollow Homestead. Today we're going to be harvesting our second bed of Texas Super Sweet onions. We harvested the one bed I had around one of my fruit trees last week, and today's the day our second batch is ready to go and start curing. So I'll take you along and get these onions harvested, and then take you down and take you on a little updated tour of the garden and see what's happening down there. So as you can see out here in my little food forest I got going, we've got all these Texas Super Sweet onions that have laid down. The necks are kinked, and it's time for them to come out. You can see that onion is completely laid over, so you're not going to get any more growth out of that when that happens. Like I said, these Texas Super Sweets are the first to mature every year. I try to make use of every space of my yard and garden and plant as much food as I possibly can. Looks like the deer have gotten to these zucchinis. I try to pick them before they find them since they grow so fast, but looks like I had a couple get eaten by the deer. So let's get going. We'll get these harvested and I'll show you how I cure them. It gets really thick in here since I really try to maximize all my garden space. That's a nice one there. And because I tend to overplant just because of my limited space, and then trying to make use of the space that I've got. Sometimes I have a little bit of compromised production with my crops just because of lack of sunlight or nutrients or something, but I'd rather do that and try to make something work in a space that's just going to be empty or just a mulch bed. Until these big sunflowers grow up that I get to volunteer every year. I really like these, what they do to the yard. I like natural environment, so I tend to leave those, and that's probably why my this particular bed's been compromised a little bit with the size of the onions. But that's okay. That's a good trade-off for me. And besides that, little onions taste just as good as big ones. It's not quite as much of it. But I'm happy with that size onion. That's, a little smaller than a baseball. I'm okay with that. You can never really tell where these wild sunflowers are going to take root and start growing. So looks like I've got quite a few onions underneath this plant. We'll dive in and grab those. Found the trick with growing onions successfully. It's all about your soil. Not only do onions take a lot of nutrients out of the soil, but they take a lot of water, and they need to have really loose, well-drained soil to grow in, so that bulb can expand in that loose dirt and it's not constricted by compacted soil. they really planted them really far back in here. And you can see the size of those onions. That was the collateral damage from leaving this sunflower where it is. That's all right. I've got like 4 more onion beds out here in this front garden. And then I've got some more around my fruit trees out back. So we'll be okay. We'll have enough onions to get through the year, I'm sure. This variety onion, they say only stores for 4 months. I got almost 8 out of some of mine last year. The trick is when you store them in your crates is to keep them separate, don't let them touch, and keep good airflow. Keep them cool and no light. Worked out real well for me last year. There's onions that got some good sun right there. I don't know if this little squash plant's going to do anything. Deer have really gotten after it. But we'll take what's left and feed it to the chickens. Betty squash from back here. Got this ground cover, snow on the mountain, or bishop's weed they call it. Really good for keeping the weeds down, but I do have to keep it in check and pull a bunch out each year, as do I have a bunch of Russian sage that does the same thing. This Russian sage grows like crazy. So I'm always pulling it, keeping it in check. Well, I think that's it for the Texas Super Sweets. We'll go take them out here to my little barn out here and get them curing. Okay, so my favorite way of curing onions is pretty straightforward and simple. You can go to all the expense and all the work of getting a drying rack, hanging your onions completely upside down. But I found that a straw bale in my barn under shade works just as well. And I just take them and lay them out like this. Just like I dried my garlic in the other video a couple of weeks ago. Same kind of deal. Lay them out. You just want good airflow so that all the moisture in this neck will kind of drain out and shrivel. You want this to be really tight. The tighter and drier this gets, the longer this onion is going to store. So that's the goal here when you're trying to cure your onions. Let's get serious here. That sunflower cost me, didn't it? Oh. I probably grow about 500 onions a year. I sell them at the farmer's market as well as for my own use, my own family. Give them to my kids. Like anything else that's homegrown, it just tastes a lot better than store-bought, in my opinion. Plus, I really enjoy growing onions. I think they're not terribly difficult. And once you get down a method that works, pretty easy learning curve to figure out how to do it. Alright, so there you go. We've got good spacing with all our onions. Of course, this straw is going to help circulate air underneath them. The fact they're laying on the stalks will also help with air circulation as well. I do get a little sun in the morning, so I'm just going to tip a wheelbarrow up right here to give them some shade. Other than that, I'm just going to let them sit here, do their thing, and cure until those necks tighten down. Then we'll trim them up, trim the roots off, brush the dirt off, and we'll store them in my little storage bins in the garage. So let's go down. I'll show you the garden, give you an update on what's going on down there. Had a pretty good summer this year. Squash bugs have been pretty non-existent. I've been trying to keep ahead of those, so they've been in check this year, which is a new thing for me. I like that. Grasshoppers, on the other hand, have gone nuts. I don't know, it's just because we had all that snow this winter and it was really wet. But for whatever reason, the grasshoppers are just going crazy. But let's go down and we'll show you what's happening down in the garden. Head back down in the hollow. Got my two assistants here helping me out this morning again, huh? So you see I got a pretty good crop of sunflowers going down here. Planted these all last year with some of those stalks up where we were just harvesting the onions. They're really taking hold. Anyway, I like to keep this place full of vegetation and looking nice. Visit the chickens for a second here. We've got 21 chickens now, I believe. Anyway, 21 of the current layers. So these provide all the eggs for the farmer's market and enough for my family. And they're doing pretty good this year. I put that shade cloth up just because it was really hot in July, and that seemed to help them ease that heat stress a little bit. So they're doing good. We'll get the eggs here in a couple hours once they're done laying. Okay, as usual, we've got to break into our fenced garden here. The deer would annihilate this if I didn't have this fence around it. So these pots, all lettuce, I've harvested twice. Pulled them up now, and I've got kale growing in them now. Sweet potatoes. So sweet potatoes are actually doing pretty well. For this climate, they're not doing too bad. I think next year they need more sun. I'm going to put them over there so they get more sun than they get right here. Tomatoes, all doing good. We've got them strapped up to the trellis. Looks like we've got some red ones down there. San Marzanos, Romas, and I have some beefsteaks. You can see those beefsteaks right there. Anyway, they're doing well. Cabbages come along. I had either cabbage beetle or something eat one of my heads of cabbage. That was kind of sad. But cucumbers, you can tell the cucumbers are doing good. We've got a couple there. My wife cleans these vines off pretty thoroughly when she comes out. But you can see we got little ones coming. They're doing good. My yellow beans, they're doing good. We've harvested these a couple of times just for some meals. They're doing well. Zucchini are doing their thing as always. I find it interesting, but at the farmer's market, one of the first things I sell out of is zucchini, which is unusual. I think it's just because the squash bugs just wiped out everybody's zucchini plants this year, and squash in general. Looks like we got our okra doing its thing. We'll probably have some of that. There's one of those pesky grasshoppers. Dang, I hate those guys. Anyway, lots of okra coming. We'll have some of that for the farmer's market here coming up. I had a pod of potatoes that didn't make it, so I got another cucumber started there. And as you can tell, we got potatoes. Lots and lots of potatoes. I love growing potatoes. I love eating potatoes. And I grew enough so that we can sell them at the farmer's market again and sell our surplus. The rest of the squash are all doing pretty good. These are those, you see that pasta la pasta spaghetti squash. You can see them right there. They're doing good. I'm anxious to try those. Never tried those before. This tomato was planted in place of a squash plant that didn't make it. Actually, this is a tomato plant that I started off a sucker. In a past video, I showed you how to propagate and make tomato plants out of your suckers, and that's one of those. Back here, oh, we got some butternut squash. We have some, they call it mashed potato squash here somewhere. There you go. Anyway, the flesh is supposed to taste like mashed potatoes. Oh, there we go. Looks like a little acorn squash, but they're actually called mashed potato squash. Anxious to give those a try. So there you go. Marigolds. You see that marigold? That thing's probably 3 feet tall. I think they really do a good job helping deter pests in the garden. So I planted a bunch of marigolds out here. As you can see, got a lot of marigolds growing. Did leave a couple of these big sunflowers inside here just to provide a little shade, and then the ones on the front provide a little shade in the afternoon. And so far everything is going good. I'm excited to harvest these potatoes and see what's happening underground. And here's the future of the egg operation here at Little Hollow Homestead. These chicks were hatched May 17th, and they're doing well. They will replace those probably, I've got like 21 chickens. I'm going to keep probably 5 or 6 of those bigger ones and then sell the rest, and then these will take the place and be our egg producers for next year. But they're doing well. Try to keep my chickens and my hogs healthy by feeding them fermented feed. I think it really helps with their digestion, overall health, introducing some of that beneficial bacteria into their digestive systems. Really does a good job. So these little guys, this is the first time they've had fermented feed. Looks like they're figuring it out. We'll give some to the big chickens here. Hey, so thanks for stopping by on this lazy summer morning, late summer morning. Just kind of puttering around. I'm really not gonna do a heck of a lot today. It's been a long week at work, and my little grandsons just turned 7 yesterday, so we had a blowout party for them. And I'm sure mom and dad are exhausted. The little guys they were going strong all day yesterday, so they're probably wiped out as well. So's grandpa. So we're gonna take it easy today. I think we're gonna go get a little demolition derby action tonight at the county fair, which is always fun. So anyway, thanks for stopping by and watching me harvest some onions. It's one of my passions. Onion, potatoes, I think, are my 2 favorite things to grow. I love growing anything in the garden, and I always try to experiment with something new each year. So anyway, I think all in all, it's been a fairly successful year. Our hog production out there is doing well. The pigs are thriving. Took 5 to the butcher the other day. We've got 5 more that'll be ready the 1st of September for my customers. And things are plugging right along. It'll be fall and winter before we know it, unfortunately. But hey, that's the nature of nature, I suppose. So, always appreciate subscriptions and thumbs up are awesome. Help me keep this channel going and motivated and continue to put out content, educational or entertaining or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, thanks for coming along on my journey. And you have a great day wherever you are, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya. Izzy and Stella, can you tell everybody bye? Hey, see ya. Time to chase tennis ball.